Well, if you ever want to know if somebody loves you or if you love someone, guess what? If you love someone, you want to know them. If you love someone, guess what? You get to know them. Love and knowing what they like, knowing who they are, knowing about them, their history, their talents, what they enjoy, this is a part of relationship. This is what love is. You cannot love someone if they don't know you, okay? And so this is what it looks like. Now, isn't it great to be known, right? Isn't it great when somebody just knows you so well? They know exactly what you want on your birthday, right? They know exactly. And you're like, how did you know? You told them 20 million times, but how did you know? It's so wonderful. I remember a friend of mine, he didn't even realize it, but I was really wanting this one book, and I didn't have the money for it. And he went and bought that book, and he gave it to me on my birthday. And I can tell you, because I like books, I can tell you, I was like, the book was great, but the fact that he knew somehow, I was like, did God tell you? You know, it spoke of so much friendship and so much love, right? Well, knowing somebody also means you know when they're a little mischievous, right? Like my mom always knew when I was in trouble. She looked at me and she goes, what'd you do? It's like, oh, right? Because she knew me, because she loved me. Okay, moms have this gift. They know when you did something bad. Okay, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it happens, but moms know because they love, right? And so, wait a minute, what does this mean? If God loves us, that means God knows us. Okay? And God knows us in a way beyond what we could ever imagine, more than any person in the world can know us, more than our parents, more than our spouse, more than our family, our best friend. God knows us. And this is a part of his love. He loves every part of us, even though and in the midst of knowing us. We're going to learn this, and we're going to walk through this as we go through Psalm. And as you know, if you've been part of our series, we're walking through different Psalms this whole summer. We're spending a summer in the Psalms. Today, we're covering Psalm 139. There's 150 Psalms. And some of the Psalms are short. Some of them are really, really long. This one is fairly long, 24 verses. But the Psalms have its own structure, too. In fact, there are 4 sections in this Psalm. All right, 4 of them. And it'll help you to follow through. Why are they going through these 4? What's being described here? It's almost like 4 acts, 4 places of realization and a heart movement. And so if you let me tell almost a little story, this is a Psalm of David describing, realizing his relationship with God, where he realizes God really knows him. He really knows David. And what it makes him feel, and what is his response along the way? That David realizes he is really known by God. It starts off in the first section by saying, you have searched me and you know me. You have searched me, Lord, Yahweh, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. So God has like a GPS on your person. He knows exactly where you are. David's saying he knows exactly where I am. And beyond that, he even knows where my thoughts are. Yeah. Verse 3, you discern, you can see and sense my going and my lying down. You are familiar with my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. This is a sign of kind of like friendship, of like kindred spirit. You know this person really well. So my wife and I, when we were first together as friends and later on as we became husband and wife, I can tell you, we're spending all this time together. We got to know each other really well, to a point where our reactions were almost the same. We wanted to say the same thing at the same time, but the distance between my thought and my mouth is shorter, right? It takes her a little longer to get there. So I would blurt out exactly what was in her mind, and she'd get so angry. She'd be like, stop that! It's like, what? You just said what I thought. And that's because we know each other. What is David saying? God knows him so well, okay, in this relationship, that he knows exactly what is in his mouth before it wants to come out. This is not a language of just God being God. You know, he's got like a computer, he knows everything. This is relational language. This is love language. How does God know? Yes, God is God, but because he loves, he pays attention. He's watching. He has been from the beginning. Scriptures tell us that God knows the very number of hairs on our head. Okay? Now, that's over 100,000 plus. Okay? Less for others, but that's a lot of hair. And I'm losing hair every day. What is it saying? God is paying attention. This is an old school way of saying God knows everything about you. He knows every little part of your microbiology, of your genetics. Okay? He knows every single part of how you're built and all the depths and the mysteries of that, down to the molecules and beyond. And the psalm actually starts off by saying, this is great, but after a while it shifts to almost this is a little weird. This is kind of scary. It says, you hem me in, behind and before. You're ahead of me, you're behind me, I'm stuck in between, and your hand is on me. This is a good thing, because it's a sign of blessing, right? A sign of prayer, but also, you don't want God's hand to be on you all the time. It's like you're so near all the time. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It's too lofty for me to attain. What is he saying? He's saying, after a while, realizing how present God is, how much he knows about you, at first it's like, blows your mind. But watch how the psalm turns, okay? In the second section of this psalm, it's not just, isn't this great? He knows everything about me. What happens when somebody knows too much about you? Okay? This is the human predicament. That closeness sometimes is too much to bear. What does David say? Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? I go up to the heavens, you are there. I make my bed in the depths, you are there. North, south, up, low, below. I can't escape you. It's almost like, yeah, this experience of God knowing you this closely is a little scary. Okay? Now, if somebody came to your house and you didn't know them and they know everything about you, you'd be like, stalker! It's kind of scary. In fact, even for married relationships, if you know somebody too well, it's really scary. At first, you want them to know you, you want to know them, but it's a little scary. I actually have been doing some marriage research and found that some marriage therapists think that when couples are fighting, it's not because they're too far apart. It's because they're too close. They've really seen each other, and it scares them. David actually is saying, God, I couldn't if I wanted to, but where could I flee? Isn't that interesting? David, who had this incredible experience of God, this closeness, sometimes it's too hard to bear. Because, if God sees everything, he sees all of your wicked thoughts. He sees all the places where you're not with him, and it's hard. And I think this is a real experience of a relationship with God. Sometimes as a child, it's so easy to be near God. Or of a young Christian, you want to be with God all the time. But as you grow, you find that, wow, things are being revealed even inside you, that it's hard being close to God. But that's okay. It's okay, because the story continues on. It says, even if I go, to the wings of the dawn, if I settle for a far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. It's shifting now. Yes, if I want to flee sometimes, and yet you are there. Okay? It's kind of like a teenager. At first, they love to be around the parents, and then next thing you know, can we not do stuff? I want to spend time with my friends. But isn't it nice to know that God is always there? It's a little scary at first, but actually, it's also beautiful. Now, we know something about this. I don't know about you, but my family, we use this app all the time. Find my friend, right? But it's find my family member. Okay, it's a little scary. I'm coming home, and I text my wife, I'm on my way home. And she goes, I know. Because she's been stalking me. Yeah, we want to know exactly where our kids are. Are you at school? Yeah, and if they turn it off, we're like, why'd you turn it off, right? It's a little scary at first, but at the same time, when you're in trouble, isn't it great to know that your parents know exactly where you are, right? I think there's something about this where we have this strange kind of, the big term is ambivalence. We want to be known. We want to be seen. But we're a little scared of that too. We're not so sure. We can't handle that kind of intensity. That's all the time. I think it's one of the reasons why social media is so interesting, right? People want to be heard. People want to be known. Every little child's like, Daddy, look, Daddy, look, Daddy, look. right? All the time. Look, I'm putting my pants on. Look, I'm going to the bathroom. Look, I'm eating food. Look, I look at my drawing, right? Daddy, look, Daddy, look. We want to be seen. At the same time, we want a barrier. So, these days, teenagers, they sit next to each other, and instead of talking face to face, they text side by side. And they're giggling. And you're like, why are you giggling? Because somebody texts something funny to each other. We want this nice little barrier in between. Somebody said that that's what Twitter is. It is a longing to be witnessed without the other side of actually being fully known, being fully loved and fully known. It is a hunger, but also it's actually as part of our brokenness. Watch what he says. David says, he says, if I say, surely the darkness will hide me. Why does he want to hide? Because inside, sometimes our hearts are not right with God. It's not just we don't feel close to him, that we've done things that cause us to not feel close. This is the story of Genesis, by the way. Adam and Eve were so close to God, but they did something to turn their backs on him, right? And sometimes in the back of our minds, we think, surely if I can just run away. We think we can run away. The darkness will hide me, and the light became night around me. Okay? We play this game, hide and seek. It's kind of fun. Okay? But in fact, adults play hide and seek all the time. We don't even realize it. We don't know how to stay in this kind of intimacy with another and also with God. I find it interesting that sometimes our actors speak truth to us. You know who this is, right? Johnny Depp. Watch what he says. Covering myself. This is in an article, an interview with Rolling Stones. It says, this is a 50-year-old man, by the way. Covering myself up in makeup, it's easier to look at someone else. You know what he's saying? I can't be myself in somebody else. I have to be someone else. Yeah. It's easier to look at someone else's face than your own. I think for everyone. Isn't that interesting? And he says, hiding, I think, is important. It's important for you. For whatever's left of your sanity, I guess. This is his way of saying, this is how he does relationship. Isn't that sad? He can't help. And he's honest with that. That it's easy to do relationship behind makeup, behind social media. That, in fact, this is some of the pain that we experience. God knows this. And he doesn't give up on us. Even when we get in trouble, even when our hiding actually makes us feel lonely and lost. That we don't even think, God, we think we can run away from him, and all of a sudden we feel like we did. Where is his presence? Where is he? The wonderful part is, even then, his hand will be there to guide us. Even when we get lost in the dark and we cannot see, what does God say? Even the darkness will be not dark to you. This is David realizing, even in the midst of his own darkness where he couldn't see, God could see. Say, the dark will not be dark to you. The night will shine like day, for darkness is as light to you. It's like God has these military night vision goggles, okay? And you're like this. You can't see anything, but God sees everything. It is eventually an incredibly comforting thing that when you're lost, God, you are not lost to God. Even when you turn your back and you hide from God, God will not let you go. This is David's experience. This is David's prayer. And that we get to learn, we get to pray, we get to experience as well. Why? Because it's not just about our journey and our process, it's about how we started. This is the third, we're almost done. This is the third of the sections in the book of Psalm. So it says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. God isn't somebody who just stumbles upon you or makes you in like a clockmaker and he forgets about you. He was in your life, in our lives, even before we could have imagined. In our mother's womb, God was the one who put us together, okay? And this is a beautiful description of what it means to be made by God. Sorry, there it is. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, okay? Your works are wonderful. I know that well. He's not saying, look at me. Look how awesome I am. Wonderful. I'm an awesome musician. I am an awesome warrior. I am an awesome king. Look at me. He's saying, everything about me that is good. Every skill, every beautiful aspect of me, God put it there. And he's actually in awe, not only of himself, but others. And if you look at not just the human body, but just at way human personhoods are made, it is amazing, the diversity. Yeah, every person, how unique they are. That second word, wonderfully, the first part is fearfully, meaning, oh my gosh, this is beauty, there's reverence here. Even in a person, by the way, you can say, every single person is made so incredible. You like, somebody awesome made this, and you have to treat it well, okay? And the second is about distinctiveness. That wonderful, that second word is about special, unique. It's kind of like, I went to France, and we went and saw this painting. There's no other like it in the world, and it's in the Louvre. It's this big museum, and we got there, and there's all these people. We had to shove our way. It's kind of funny. It's only this big, right? We're looking like, where is it? And it's like, I can barely see it. But even the small little painting is so incredible. Nobody can match. This is so unique. This is the description, what he's saying. It was put behind this I think bulletproof glass, because it was so well guarded. It was protected because it's a work of art. That's what he's saying. I recognize that not only even in myself, even with all my brokenness, not just for myself but others, God has made us. He has skillfully woven us in such a beautiful, fearfully and wonderfully made. This is the beauty of being in a relationship with God. He loved you before you were even aware, before you were born. He knew you. He knows you in your past, your present, even in your future. He's planned out for you. And so the psalm continues on saying, my form was not hidden from you, even in the dark place. Sorry, all of these are missing the verses, okay? You've woven me together and together well. Sorry, this is not working right. One second. There we go. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days were ordained for me, were written in your book before one of them came to be. What is he saying? My life. It's not saying that you're absolutely determined, but God is in control. He has this big book with names, with events. It's kind of a way of saying he has already planned the big picture. It's not saying that every little step, every little choice that you're like a robot and you can't go out of his plan. But he's planned ahead for you. Okay? He's thoughtfully thought through. You have a purpose in life. Your life is going to count. And this is David's recollection and awareness. Remember, he was a nobody. He didn't think that he had any purpose. He was just this reject of a son who was sent out to be a shepherd. And yet he's thinking about God planned for him to be a king. And all that was part of the journey of that was in God's mind and in his heart. And it becomes, after you think about just the vast nature of God's love and plan for us, we realize God knows us so well, but we don't know God very well. Okay? He says, how precious to me are your thoughts, God? How vast is the sum of them written in your book? How big are you, God? And this is the turn, by the way. This is where we begin to realize this is what we get to pray. When you realize how well you are known, loved, planned, created by God, the only response now is to think and say, how can I know God now? Start off in wonder and in humility. I don't know God very well. And he is big. He is awesome. Yes, there is mystery in the world, but I want to know God better. Okay? It says, were I to count them, God's thoughts, God's plans, they would outnumber the grains of sand. And when I am awake, I am still with you. He's thinking about this in the middle of the night, and he's thinking, wow, how big are you, God? What are your plans for me? He's talking to God. And as he awakes, guess what? God is still with him. This is a journey of knowing God, relating to him, even in the middle of the night. Okay, so you get this picture? First, he's realizing God knows him so well, as a GPS on his person and his thoughts. And then he's realizing this is kind of scary, and he wants to flee. But even in his darkness, God finds him. And he's realizing God was in his past. God created him in his mother's womb. Everything good about it has come from God. Now, this is the fourth part, which really throws people off because nobody preaches this part, by the way. Okay? It's hard to reconcile. What is this doing here? I want to kill the people who hate you. I hate the people who hate you. all of this was beautiful language. You made me so well. And then it shifts to, oh, I wish I could hurt the people who hate you. What is this going on? Maybe the way to understand this is when you have turned toward wanting to know God, amazed at the grandness of his plans and of his thoughts, wanting to know him, being with him, and even through the night and awaking to find that he's there. When you are so close to God, guess what? You no longer distance yourself to him, you distance yourself to the people who hate him. Okay? You no longer spend your time getting close to the people who hate him, who reject him. You no longer keep running in darkness away from God. When your heart has really found him and renewed this closeness to him, guess what? You stay close. You put distance between people who hate God. This is the best way of describing it. Away from me, get away from me. I am close to God. There's no more distance. I don't want any more distance from God, so I'll make distance with the people who hate him. This is a good way of understanding. This is how to pursue God. That you realize that, in walking with God, knowing God, guess what? You can put distance by just following all the other people who hate him and live their lives far from him. And so, he finally says, this is where his heart is, that we get to echo. God is inviting us to be known by him and to know him. So what do? You search. You say, God, search my heart. God already knows, but it's saying, if there is something in my own life that puts me at distance with you, get it out. I don't want it anymore. I want to be close to you. It's a beautiful prayer that we get to echo. Now I'm going to finish this message with a little clip. Because guess what? Sometimes we do feel distance from God. Sometimes we do feel like God is not there. Sometimes we make choices where we didn't do the best in our lives, even adults. And this is a little serious, but it's okay because it's a children's story. But this is from a movie called Wit. I don't know if you heard of this movie, but it's from a Pulitzer Prize-winning play about a woman who gets cancer. And as she's dying, she's thinking about all the choices she made in her life. She was an English professor, and she thought that it's only important to be smart and more to have wit and to get to kind of be really cool. She studied these very, very esoteric psalms by John Donne. So she was this elite intellectual person, this professor. But as she gets sick, people are not, she's realizing not a lot of people are coming to see her. Her relationships are not very good. She's realizing that she didn't live a life of compassion. And as she's dying, she's remorseful a bit, wondering, where is God? Where are the people around me? And this is near the last part of the scene of her life, where her English professor mentor, who was her college English teacher, she hears about her being sick, and she comes visit. And it's interesting. She asks, as she's just moaning and groaning, can I comfort you somehow? Can I recite some of your beloved psalms, poems by John Donne? And she's like, no, I don't want anything more to do with that. And interesting enough, this college professor who was on her way to reading visiting her grandniece, I think, she says, okay, let me read you this book. Okay, and the book, I don't know if you heard of the book. The book is called Runaway Bunny. Who's ever heard Runaway Bunny? Okay. Anybody read Runaway Bunny to your children? There you go. Runaway Bunny. And it's a short little book about a bunny who actually tells his mom, I want to run away. I want to run away. Even little bunnies feel that way sometimes. And the mom says, if you run away, then I'm going to pursue you. And so just follow this. She recites this for this woman dying of cancer, and is incredibly comforting.
Let's see. The Runaway Bunny by Margaret Wise Brown. Pictures by Clement Hurd. Copyright 1942. First Harper Trophy edition 1972. Once there was a little bunny who wanted to run away. So he said to his mother, I'm running away. If you run away, said his mother, I will run after you. for you are my little bunny. If you run after me, said the little bunny, I will become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you. If you become a fish in a trout stream, said his mother, I will become a fisherman, and I will fish for you. Ah, look at that. A little allegory of the soul. Wherever it hides, God will find it. See, Vivian? If you become a fisherman, said the little bunny, I will be a bird and fly away from you. If you become a bird and fly away from me, said his mother, I will be a tree that you come home to. Ah, very clever. Shucks, said the little bunny. I might just as well stay where I am and be your little bunny. And so he did. Have a carrot, said the mother bunny. Wonderful.
She kind of fast forwarded through the book, but it's a little story. It's Psalm 139. This bunny at home realizing that the mother loves him, but it's just, I want to run away. And the mom saying, you can't. Even if you do, I'll find you. Out of love, I'll pursue you. Okay, you want to become a little, trout, then I'll become a fisherman. Okay? You want to become a tree, a bird, then I'll become a tree to attract you. And this mother's love, this persistent, pursuing mother's love, ultimately the bunny says, okay, I'll stay at home. I'll be your bunny. This is David's story. This gets to be our story. Even when maybe for those of us who grew up in a Christian home and we've run away, God, and found ourselves in our place of darkness, God would not give up on you. He'll find you. Okay? Not to punish you, but to bring you home. This is what it means to be known by God. Would you bow your heads with me as we pray?